Aloha no again. I want to welcome you folks so much for the final installment of this talk story. Our guest today is going to be Jazmin and Tiffany. And so we're going to be talking about this culminating project. And I would like for you folks to just introduce yourselves a little bit and tell us what your major is, and then we'll take a deep dive into what these dishes are.
Would you like to go first?
Sure, I can go. Hi everybody, my name is Jazmin, and I'm a Peace and Conflict Resolution major, and I'm also getting the Ethnic Studies certificate.
And my name is Tiffany, and I am very simple. My major is communications.
Right on. Did you folks always know that that's the kind of major you wanted to go into?
Honestly, no. That was never a situation in my head, because before, a long time ago, before I got into college, I was like, oh, I'm going to get into a nursing program, and I'm going to be like that basic person, which, not saying that nursing is basic, but, you know, what typical people go through in Hawaii. But as I learned that science is not my thing, then I was trying to find my other branches, and then I found communications, and I love it. Yeah.
Wow.
What about you?
Yeah, for me, I don't think I necessarily ever knew, like, a path that I really wanted to take for a long time. My dreams had been all over the place, like, oh, I'll be a singer, and then, oh, actually, I really want to be an engineer, but once I got to, like, high school, I think I was really leaning into, like, social sciences and sort of international relations, so this is kind of where all of those things are meeting.
So tell me a little bit about, so the first dish we're already trying is tell us about your particular dish, Jazmin.
Yeah, so last time we met, I showed you how to make the Guyanese style curry, and it has, I had already put a twist on it, making it vegan, and then adding a little extra veggies. And then you have also added a little bit of coconut milk, which is a nice little East Asian flair as well, and I like what it's doing to, like, the thickness. Yeah, so Guyanese style curry, for background, is a Caribbean take on curry, which originated in India. The British actually came over and decided, like, they loved this combination of spices, so they put it together and called it curry powder. So actually, if you go to India, they tend to call it gravies, actually. Like, oh, I made a vegetable gravy, which is not what we think of when we think of gravy. We're thinking of, like, Thanksgiving turkey gravy,
the brown-looking sauce.
Yeah. Or they would call it, you know, like vindaloo, or, you know, which, if you go to an Indian restaurant, you're common with that. So that's why you don't go to the Indian restaurant and order curry, right? Because they don't have that on the menu, because that's not. Yeah.
Wow, I'm having this whole moment. I'm like, I never thought about it from that perspective. Yeah.
Yes, but in the Caribbean we do call it curry. In Guyana, typically what is made chicken curry, and then in Trinidad, you would reverse it and call it curry chicken, or curry whatever was the main ingredient of the dish. Yeah.
Right on. Tiffany, tell us a little bit about this dish. Tell us the name and what is it?
Okay, so this is called the tortilla de patatas, which is basically meaning a potato omelet in English form. So this is originated in Spain, and a lot of the times when I was, like, studying abroad there, like, if we're not hungry, or if we just wanted a light snack, or even just, like, a regular dish too, this is a very popular menu item that a lot of people tend to eat. And it's very easy to make too, as we did before. And yeah, they eat it on, like, a daily basis too. Many have, like, different ways of making it, but just simply, it's just potatoes and onion and eggs inside. Yeah.
Right on. So let's cut that up as well, and then I want you guys to, as we're eating this, I want us to, like, go through the experience of, like, who inspired these dishes. Especially tell me, like, with our listeners, tell us what like making the dish, what did that invoke in you? Like who showed up to the room in this experience for yourself? Yeah.
Well, first of all, you did so good with the cooking.
Yes.
I'm just like in awe for both dishes. Like this one, the curry is really good too, and the omelet. Like for what I can see, it's amazing. But where it came from, it was actually from my host mother, because I lived with my host mom and study abroad for 3.5 months, and every single time, like, you know, she's that typical auntie that is just like, oh, you need to eat, like, are you hungry? And then she will make you breakfast, lunch, dinner. Nothing like, oh, like, just grab something or whatever. She will make you something from, like, her love, too.
Wow.
So that's what I really loved about her. And then I remember the time when we both were, or I wanted to involve with her more, because I didn't just want to be like in and out of the house, because she has taken care of me that whole 3.5 months. So I was like, can you teach me a dish, like how to make it? And then she was like, yeah, of course. And then on that day, she was making tortilla de patatas. And she was telling me like how she makes it and how there's a little spin for her and like how it's like a traditional dish. And mind you, she doesn't speak English at all. She just speaks full Spanish, because she's like she's like 60, 70-year-old like auntie. So I was just like, oh, like I was trying so hard to understand her. But it was my first like bonding time that I had with her, and it felt just so nice. I feel really close to her just when I have like the tortilla de patatas. And yeah, I mean, it basically all started from my host mom, but then I see it everywhere in Spain. So I'm just like, every time I think of Spain, I'm just like, the tortilla de patatas or paella. But we didn't usually eat paella, like, because it took forever. But this is like the easy dish that people make over there. Yeah.
What about the curry?
Yeah, the curry. The curry, when I was making it, or all leading up to it, I was very nervous. I hoped that it turned out well, because it had been like at least a year since I had last made it, even for myself. So I was very worried. But it ended up coming together. The interesting thing about that recipe is that I never had someone sit down and show me how to make it step by step. I only was able to watch people make it. And then later on, when I lived on my own, you know, had to learn how to make it, you know. So I ended up using what I remembered and then borrowing a couple of recipes from online to craft my recipe of it. Eventually I would like to, you know, go one-on-one with like one of my cousins or something, and have them show me their versions. But the thing about this curry is that it's part of a much larger journey for me of like trying to understand my Indo-Guyanese genealogy and history. Yeah.
When I asked you folks to partake in this exercise with me, how did that feel, one? And then two, now that you're on the opposite side of it, how is the papa de fritatas? I would like to know.
It's actually really good. It's amazing.
Okay, right on. I really try to, like, in all of your dishes, I really remembered, and I was starting to bawl at certain times making these, because each one of you folks had very different stories, and I wanted to honor your story, one. I wanted to honor you, but I really wanted to honor the people who had shared that with you, because I had never made a curry in my life. Besides my ex who'd made me a curry, and I didn't make that. And Japanese curry is completely different than even this.
Different.
I really had never made this type of dish particularly. And the simplicity of it's what I loved about it. And it just, it definitely took me out of my comfort zone to a degree. And especially I was like, I don't know what had possessed me to want to make it in my little electric stew little pot that I had. So, but I was like, she go. And so we made it happen. And somehow it really did.
It worked.
Literally. So going back to my question is, what was it like when I asked you to partake in this? And then two, now that you're on the flip side of it, what was that journey like? And did it have an impact on you?
I mean, it definitely did make an impact. Well, I remember the first time you were talking about this topic or like this project that you were doing, I was like, oh, that's an interesting take on it. And then the first thing in my mindset was already a country that I'm not even born from, which is very interesting and touching to me, because I never really fully expected that it made that much impact on my life. And it's been 2 years now since it's like I've been away from Spain, and it definitely felt like home to me. So with the people that was around me, of course, and then the community that supported me, no matter like I was struggling, they were always there. So making this dish and making it into something that's part of my life and then expressing it to you was something that is what I thought it was beautiful. And I still think about it like every single day. I'm like, wow, like I made it on that day telling Alex about this, and it's really nice to think about it, like looking back. And me and my friends were still really close to this day that I made from study abroad. And I was just, well, in the future, I'm still planning to go back. So I think that's what it made an impact a lot of. And I'm like, I should cook more dishes, like Spanish dishes too. So, yeah.
Yeah, for me, I remember when you reached out, I was like flattered. I was like, oh, I'm so flattered. Like, oh, yeah, I would love to help you out with this project. It sounds really fun, sounds really interesting. And I would love to see, how it concludes. I think what I wasn't expecting was for it to like take me to a vulnerable place, because after while we were making the dish, we were talking story about like ancestors and spaces and how we bring ourselves into different spaces. And I wasn't expecting it to really take me to a vulnerable place. And like you said, it reminds us to like, wow, we really should make these dishes more, because it was like emotionally healing, I feel, in a way, to make something that I hadn't made in forever, but was just surrounded by all these positive, like, supportive emotions and people.
It's a way of like reconnecting, of like that culture that you had before, and just like taking it all in rather than just being in, since we're all graduating, we're in like this busy, chaotic life to the point where like we tend to forget about like the gratitude of what have happened before and where you are now. So you just need to see like that progress. And it's just like cooking this made me think about, wow, like I really came from there and look where I am now. So yeah, I completely agree with that.
So you touched on we're graduating. Obviously conflict and peace building brought us all together. You're graduating with a major in conflict and peace building through the Matsunuga Institute. You and I met through negotiations with Kumu Zephany.
Yes.
I highly recommend you taking that class. That class will change your life. If you're listening to this and you're an underclassman, upperclassman, take that class. It will change your life. But you talked about graduating. Do you believe it's real now that it's
like I'm graduating?
Yeah.
No. I feel like it won't hit until like we're wearing the cap and gown. Like I see everyone wearing the cap and gown, and then we're like, okay, like how you turn the tassel and everything. I'm gonna be like, oh crap, I'm actually graduating. So I don't think it fully hit, even though everyone around me is like, oh my god, like aren't you excited? Aren't you happy? Like it's your proudest moment of your life. And I'm just like, I never really thought of it until that moment. it hit me. I was just like, that is true. Like, we're graduating college. Some people don't have that opportunity, or some people don't have that kind of graduation too. Like, I remember my high school COVID year. Like, I couldn't even graduate. Like, I didn't have that proper graduation, so this one feels like one of the biggest moments in my life too. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't feel real to me either. Everyone's asking me if I'm excited. I don't want to disappoint them, but like, you know, I'm having all this anxiety leading up to it because there's still a lot of work to be done. You know, the graduation day is at the end of finals week. You know, so it's not. There's kind of a sprint happening towards the end for me, at least. Just the way that my schedule was built, and so, yeah, like you said, I think it won't really hit me until I'm there and there's a crowd and I'm walking, you know, or maybe even after that moment, probably.
Yeah.
So.
What about you?
I'm grateful. You know, and I've shared this with both of you folks. Food is the last thing that I have connection to my family, to my parents. Food is how I express myself. I will not cook for you unless I like you. So I really do like you guys a lot.
I feel honored.
And that's the truth. I don't cook for people if I don't like them. Because it really is an extension of my mana, is extension of my love. And I believe it. I'm just grateful that I've made it this far, and I'm going to make it even further, because I never saw myself in these spaces ever. So in that, but saying that, like, I'm just grateful. I mean, yesterday I had my Mauna Kea Education Awareness Talk Story, which is the kickoff to the largest reason why I got into higher education. And so I'm accomplishing everything that I had intended to and I'd set out to. So yeah, no, I mean, I would say that for me, it's interesting because yesterday I had to like pause and I had to look around because like everything I had worked for and that I am working towards, it's literally manifesting in front of me, and I'm very just grateful. But I'm also doing the work, and I talked about this yesterday. There's a mana exchange, like for you to create things, like there's a part of yourself that you have to give or sacrifice, and I've been very conscious of, what those things are, and yeah, it's just I'm in alignment, and that to me feels really great. I do want to ask you folks, in hindsight, like now that we've done this exercise and we've been on this journey together, what would you say to someone that is trying to find their way, and whatever it may be, whether it be traveling abroad for you, whether it be about just finding their way in general? Like, what advice would you give to them?
Honestly, I was having this talk with my friend the other day where some people already know what they want in life, but most people don't really know what they want in life. And that's okay, because we're all trying to look for something, to find something that is meant for you, right? And there's no right or wrong answer. There's always a different pathway that you can make. So whatever that you're thinking or whatever you have that gut feeling of, just even like, for example, it's like, oh, I want to do this. I want to try it. You should just do it, because there's many opportunities out there and there's many different ways of doing it as well too. For example, it's just like, if you want to get into a music industry, there's many different parts that you can get into a music industry. Either it's a media base, either it's the production base, either if it's like the director base. There's so many different pathways. You just gotta try everything out and then see where it takes you, because the more experiences that you have, from my perspective, the more it develops with who you are, what you want, and your identity. And from all those kind of areas too, even if it's in very different realms like music, sports, or literature, it can lead up to many connections, and they can help you too. They're not trying to attack you. They're not trying to like just blank you out. They will always be there for you if you make those connections. So finding your way is just not easy for anyone. That's not written in a book, and you can't guide it because everyone has their own different pathways. So what I would just say is just try everything and see where it takes you, because you never know if that was like actually you're interested in.
Yeah, I agree. I would say definitely like try new things. Don't be afraid to do something you've never done before. I think for me, the only way I was able to make it this far is by having steady support systems. And the thing nobody tells you is that those support systems are like changing often, because the people that you have in your life right now are not going to be there forever, and there could be myriad reasons why that happens. People ebb and flow, and that's okay. But I really couldn't have made it to this point, graduating now, without the support of my people back in Minnesota, as well as the supports that I have found here on island. I think when you, we talked about this at our last talk story, Alex, but like when you have experienced lots of hardship, it makes you feel like there's just no way. I could never, I used to not cook at all. I was like, wow, I could never throw something together that looked presentable and tasted palatable. Like I used to sit and dream about it, but time changes, you get older, you find people, and like having a growth mindset. This is like such a teachery thing for me to say, but like having a growth mindset is so valuable. So trust yourself, trust your instinct, and find your people.
Right on. Any final words either for Jose or Kumu Zephany?
I'm really grateful that I took her class. I don't know how much impact it made me until the end of class, because from what I see from the class perspective too, everyone grew a lot in many different ways, and I even grew a lot. And then it made me want to learn more about like how we can negotiate even on a daily basis, like not in a professional standpoint, just to have that better connection with people around you, So I'm truly thankful for her, because all of those, like when she had the guest speakers in too, it made a huge impact, because a lot of them were women related, and there's not that much recognitions for those kind of people. So I think it was just very empowering to see that there can be growth in many different ways too. So I liked her class. Definitely take that class.
For me, for Jose, I still think I really need to process it. I think I'll get emotional, but like, I actually met Jose like way at the start of this journey when I first came to the island.
Wow.
Yeah, which wasn't that long ago, but it feels like forever ago now. But yeah, when I first enrolled and I first transferred here, I had no direction. I had very limited communications from the people that were supposed to be supporting me. And he was the one that was like, oh, okay, let's like take it way back. Like, what do you need? And this is how I'm able to support you. And he's done that since this whole time, but especially like in this final semester, like when I was needing a site. I was needing a site supervisor, and I didn't know where this stuff was going to come from, panicking. And he was like, I got you. Like, let's work together on this and let's make it happen. And like, he is one of those people who is just like so competent and like so like compassionate at the same time. I really could not have finished this semester or like done this whole journey without him. Like, I'm so glad that we met and appreciative of all that the opportunities that he's given me. So thank you so much, Jose. And if you ever get a chance to work with him, definitely strongly recommend.
Right on. And final question, because I'm very curious, because you folks, you've definitely met me in different phases.
Yes.
You've met me in different work phases as well. What am I like? Like, if for someone who doesn't know me,
What are you like?
Like
the first time, like.
Let's start there, I guess, because you've actually have known me for a minute.
Well, the first time I saw you was that a year ago? It was a year ago. The first time I saw you, I was like, oh, it's just another, like, local boy looking, which it was totally different from where your background came from. So that was really interesting. But when you started talking in class, it was at first, it was just in a way of, like, it felt attacking in a sense. But I understood that that's how you are curious in life. And then you just want to know the answers. So for me, I just felt it was more impactful because I was just like, oh yeah, I should speak up more often. Because we don't know anything in life. Like, they might have some answers, they might not. It's just good to ask, you know? And as we were doing this talk story session, I started to learn more about you. And you just have so much light into life. You just have so much, like, history that I can feel it, you know, in a sense, where it's just really nice seeing that you're grounded to yourself and you're fully open-minded to how you bring people in and out of you. So I think it's just really, I don't know, it just brought a positive light and impact into me. So I think from before to now, you still brought positive parts into, even if it's like a different meaning, you know? Like, the first time is like, oh, I should speak up. It was for me, a learning lesson. Second time, it was just like, oh my God, he's an actually amazing person from inside and out. So, yeah.
Yeah, our time has been very brief. I wish we met sooner, for real. First impression's kind of tricky, right? Because we met at that lunch and we weren't able to like have a conversation or anything. I didn't really think left or right, you know. But I think over the course of our like communications and talk stories, like, yeah, you definitely have like this very like powerful presence, I feel. And I think people can misread, you know, and it's because they feel like everyone like should be and move about the world in exactly the same way. So when somebody presents something different, it's like, why are you doing that? Like, you're just messing with the system, kind of thing. But I feel like you're very like, I feel like you wear your heart on your sleeve. And there's something, again, very powerful about that. I appreciated that we were able to both be very vulnerable in our talks and that you could understand, you know, some of the, you know, some of our childhood pieces were overlapping. And I think that was really helpful for me. 'Cause I hadn't been able to speak in such a raw way with someone in a long time. And so I needed that. But I think I also now view you somewhat as a mentor, like even in this small period of time, like I've really you know, like there's there's lessons to be learned, and I'm very much like I want to accept as much wisdom and knowledge as I can from both people that are older and younger, but have taken like even that much away from just our time together. Yeah.
How did you guys meet, by the way?
We went to a lunch because you know I'm all about free food, and so in Manoa there was Manoa Chinese food. I forget the name of it. I was like, I'm never gonna pay to eat there, but hey, if you're gonna pay for it, I'm down. And so we went through the Conflict and Peace Building Institute. We went for two. I went for two of them. Yeah, and we ended up meeting, and then I was like, it was because you'd be very surprised. People did not want to do this with me. And yeah, like, and so I threw out feelers and then nothing. And then like you guys were actually my first two. And then, you know, I was just backups because like, if anything I do, I always have a backup plan. And yeah, and I just, nothing was hitting. And then that's when I followed up. I said, hey, are you sure you want to do this? You know? Yeah. And I wasn't even ready for what I would learn. I definitely was not ready for the talk stories of like learning who had inspired this. I definitely was not ready for that overlap because yeah, I've seen some stuff. And so yeah, from the bottom of my heart, I'm mahalo both of you folks for being you. And I hope that you folks can see the greatness that I see in you, which is another reason why I asked you to really be a part of this. And I also, you know, I say this to people on my show that I really connect and I vibe with. Whatever soul agreement that we made in the last realm to bring us into this, realm, I'm very grateful. Because these talk stories are really also me mirroring back to myself. And so there's lots of healing that for me occurs during these talk stories. And yeah, I mean, this has been an amazing journey. And so I'm mahalo both of you for your time and your mana into going into this, because this project would not have been a success if it would not be for you and for your stories. And I'm very appreciative and grateful for you trusting me with those stories, because I hope I'm doing you justice by refracting what it is and my interpretation of it, because that was and only has been my intention through this, because I am a true believer that food can connect us no matter what. Everyone's got to eat. And I think, I mean, it's true. Everyone's got to eat. And so I really feel that, you know, for me, that's how I connect with my ancestors. It's truly how I spend time with my family, and then it's through making my own food and yeah. And so again, I mahalo you folks so much for this, and for folks listening, I hope that you get inspired to cook your own dishes or cook dishes in general. It truly all begins with you. I am a true believer that, again, liberation truly begins within the self first. And so until you can liberate yourself, you can't liberate nobody. Period. You've been listening to Real Talk with DJ Ono. Aloha.